I'm David Pearson. I've been teaching at Rare Book School since 2010, so I've been here for several years ever since. I used to be a professional librarian. I worked most of my career in London, working in numerous libraries, managing collections, managing activities like that in London. I retired from that about 5 years ago, largely so that I could spend more time undertaking more academic work, getting back to things associated with rare books, which I've always been interested in. And I'm currently a senior fellow at the Institute of English Studies at the University of London, and I do various bits of teaching and academic work for them, but I'm essentially an independent scholar, I suppose you would say now. The things about books that really interest me are not so much their texts or their authors, but the individual histories of the books themselves, the interfaces between the books and their users, their readers. What I'm interested in is how people have interacted with books. And so the things that I focus on are the ownership history of books, provenance, private libraries, that kind of thing, and how books have been bound. So provenance and bookbinding are the two areas that I have particularly focused on, and the two courses that I've developed and run for Rare Book School focus on those topics. So I'm here this week running my course on provenance, which is all about helping people to discover, interpret, date, record all the ownership evidence that you find in books. And the other course that I sometimes run is on bookbindings and on recognizing and dating early bindings. How do you tell a 16th century binding from an 18th century one, from a 19th century one? How do you localize it? What can you learn from it? What can you learn from these books by looking at the marks that people have left in them, the ways that people have chosen to have them bound, all of those kinds of things, because there's a lot to learn and there's a lot to interpret from that kind of evidence. What brought me to Rare Book School in the first place? Well, most directly it was an invitation from Michael to come and develop a course, which I was very happy to do because I've known about Rare Book School for a long time. I've known about it in my career as a librarian, as somebody specializing in rare books. And I was delighted, I was honored, I was pleased to have a chance to come and develop a course based on the kinds of work that I have done, based on the books that I've written. And so taking one of my books and turning it into a course was an attractive and an interesting proposition, and I was very glad to do it. So I was delighted and honored to come. Teaching at Rare Book School has always been a pleasurable thing. It's always been interesting. It's always been a great opportunity to meet a bunch of new people. My students usually come from a variety of backgrounds. They may be collectors, they may be curators, they may be academics, they may be postgrads doing a PhD. There's usually quite a good mix of people, but I can understand what brings them, why they're interested in this thing, and talking to them, learning from their questions is always a rewarding and an interesting thing to do. When I published a handbook to provenance research, which is one of my key subjects, about 25 years ago, and I did a new edition of it just a few years back. And in the preface to the new edition, I wrote completely truthfully in the acknowledgements, I'm really grateful to all my former students on Rare Book School courses who've helped me to keep my knowledge fresh, kind of keep me on my toes, keep me up to date, have helped me through the sorts of questions that they have asked to just keep refining the subject. And it really is helpful in that context to engage with people who are coming to the subject kind of newish through their professional activities and be able to help them, be able to steer them, but also learn from them about the kinds of things they want to know about. And it's a really good two-way dialogue, I think. I think the school has evolved quite significantly over those years in terms of raising its profile, inspiring other similar activities around the world. I think enhancing its collections has been quite a significant improvement on what I've seen in Rare Book School since I've been coming here, because it's one of the great things about Rare Book School that it encourages that hands-on interaction between the books and the students. And the first thing I say to all my students at the beginning of my courses is, if you want to learn about this subject, handle books, experience books, look at books. And Rare Book School encourages that and facilitates it. And when I first came here, the collections were ones that had been developed perhaps with other subject focuses in mind, but they have developed considerably over the last decade or so. So I've got a much better raft of material to illustrate the kind of stuff that I talk about, and that has definitely been helpful. The school has obviously also increased its range of courses and the range of things that it talks about, but I think the way that Rare Book School sustains some of its traditional values and traditional ways of working, if you like. Rare Book School has always stressed the importance of evaluations and published those evaluations year on year. And it's always stressed the community that it builds, the social interaction that it encourages amongst the students who are here every week through the breaks and through the parties and all of those kinds of things. And that's really good. It creates a really good atmosphere, a really good environment, which is part of its value. One of the things about Rare Book School that I think I perhaps can talk about or have experience of is the fact that I have taught on Rare Book Schools in other parts of the world. And there is a London Rare Book School, which I regularly teach on, and there's an Australasian Rare Book School, which I have taught on a couple of times. And they're both very much inspired by Rare Book School here. There's no doubt that the creation and establishment of Rare Book School inspired similar activities around the world. They do a great job, and I think it's really wonderful that they have got going and that they're spreading that kind of idea around the world. But I do also think that Rare Book School here does have its own unique identity and special things about it, which are partly about that sense of community that it builds, the way in which social interaction across the classes by all the students and the staff informally and easily is encouraged and facilitated through all the various events that you put on. That's a real value that adds to what we can do in the classroom. But having really good, engaged, keen cohorts of people who come every year and are interested and they want to learn and they want to engage with you, that's great too. So the teaching is really important, but the social stuff is important too.